Welcome to this new episode of Serial Part 2. It's not really a new episode. Part 2 for January 2025. And we immediately continue. We had talked about the Rollei XF 35AF and black and white film. Now we're keeping into film that's medium format using the Fujica GW690 camera. Medium format, so 120 film. It's a 6x9 camera, so you don't do that many photos. So yeah, it's kind of not very efficient price-wise, but it's an experience. I'm trying to experiment with it, and here it's with Lomography 800 film, and that's near the Keflavík International Airport in Iceland, south of Reykjavik, southwest of the island. I'm not very convinced about the value of those photos, but I find them interesting nonetheless. I will probably insert them in one of my works. That was kind of fresh snow on the left. On the right, sorry, that's Selfoss. It's south of Reykjavik. If you've seen the episodes last month, I extensively took pictures of that town south of Iceland, southwest of Iceland. And and same film, same camera. Again here, those two pictures are near the Keflavík International Airport. Those industrial places, locations where the snow had just fallen, so it's pretty clean with those very short days at that time of the year. So it's the moon is low, the sun is kind of low, and I think it all sets up pretty well to do some quite interesting pictures. Here I'm not really convinced about my work, but we will see how it evolves into a more edited work. Changing equipment, that was a Leica M240 rangefinder digital camera from a certain time ago, and that's using, because I'm really testing again extensively, the Jupiter 8 lens, Soviet era lens, 50mm f2.0. And here pictures in Iceland, southwest of Iceland, it tends to snow a lot, and then because the air is pretty dry pretty fast. But you have those mounds of snow that's been compacted because they cleaned up the roads, and those slowly evolve and become some kind of icebergs in the middle of the streets. And here you have it with this old snow and ice with a small new layer of fresh snow. Or on the right, that was just a kind of a wink to a work I've done also. For those of you who follow my video work, music work, AI work, I just did a music video with a persona, which is kind of like this plastic model, fashion model in this store in Reykjavik, and I thought it was an interesting wink because it kind of looks like it, but that's real, purely real, and nothing AI. You can go see my website if you're interested in the video. It's actually selected for a few video film festivals. Here, still same equipment, M240 and the Jupiter 8 lens. That's at the Nordic House in Reykjavik. You can kind of guess the central part of Reykjavik farther away, separated with this small natural preserve in front of the Nordic House. That's a goose. It was all alone there, so I took a picture, and it was a really cold day, and the snow was kind of this small layer of fresh snow, hail and snow. And we were kind of warned that those birds could have a bird flu, so a lot of them died, if I understood well. I'm not sure it's the gooses, but that was the only one, so I guess that was the case, but you shouldn't get too close not to transmit whatever. Some details of that natural reserve, and some human artifacts, which I kind of take pictures of regularly because I think it's interesting to see this impact. And sometimes it can be quite aesthetical. I'm not sure it's happy, but it's aesthetical. And those two pictures, same equipment, I might also use for a series in the future, and that would be one of my recommendation also. Don't underestimate those kind of banal pictures you take, because maybe once in the future you will have something to say to an audience, and those pictures will be nicely fit into your project. So yeah, look at your archives, kind of try to keep track of your archive a little bit. I'm not good at it, but I do it. So again, same equipment, workers working. That's basically during the day, early afternoon, but it gets dark pretty fast at that time of the year, and under the rain, under all conditions. And on the right, that's a building I've been for years. I've been either coming to our Iceland regularly, or now most of the time I'm here. That block with the X, it's actually a block of concrete in a box. It hasn't moved. It's probably very, very heavy, and yeah, nobody's moving it. I guess it's kind of complicated. It's not bothering anyone, but I thought it was an interesting composition with this geometrical looking building in the background. And well, anyway, nothing exceptional, but I kind of liked it. Changing equipment. Here we're going with the SL2 camera with Summicron, Leica Summicron 35mm f2.0 lens, a V2. I think the V2 construction, I'm not doing a review here, but I think it's got one element less than the later versions, but still has the character of a Summicron, kind of a lot of vignetting. But anyways, I will do a video about it, specifically on this V2 and from the 60s, 70s. And the picture on the left, that's a young or Icelandic artist that does bass loops. He's a composer. He does lots of experimental music too. And here he mixes those bass loops with some field recordings and really interesting concert at Mengi, the small concert hall in Reykjavik. And on the right, that's a view from the Contemporary Museum of Kopavogur, which is part of the suburbs of Reykjavik South. It's a separate entity, but it's kind of in the same, how do you say, same wide perimeter of the city. And I thought I don't know, I liked that picture, so I took the picture. Again, on the left, same equipment, SL2 Summicron 35mm f2 V2. And here, the picture on the right, that was just to compare, because there was this really huge snowstorm that lasted a few days. Very high winds, lots of snow. Here it's the shore of west of Reykjavik, and I wanted to try to capture the energy and the really this weird, really powerful event going on. So I tried with those two cameras. On the right, that's medium format digital CMOS sensor S007 from Leica with a 30mm f2.8 Summarit S. An equipment I really love. I've been using through the years. You've seen it in previous series for the past years, and with a flash on the right, not on the left. And even so, they're both. The S is 30-something megapixel. The SL2 is some 47 megapixel. You can see that how different the rendering can be depending on the camera you use, and how more analog and organic I think the picture from the right looks, even so it's not as detailed, it's kind of weird, very different rendering. And I think it's really interesting to try different cameras, and you don't think that any camera can take the picture you want. You can probably take good pictures with kind of anything, but it's not gonna give the results. They're not going to give the same result. That's my point. So experiment. And here we're going to finish the month on a camera I kind of forgot, which I've used regularly for a few years. Well, for many years. But this camera is a Dxo One. It's a tiny camera that works independently of anything. You don't need a device to use it. It's got a tiny black and white screen without gray levels. So it's black or white, which helps you frame your picture. But otherwise, if you want to see better and use it better, Dxo had made that as an extension for iPhones or Android phones. So you find those two versions with the micro USB or the Lightning connector. And I actually used those cameras. I had three that I used like GoPros, because I preferred the quality for video. But they take good pictures. It's a 1-inch sensor. It's a really nice lens. And the software science from Dxo was into it, and they still work great. So I had this one in my pocket for a while, for probably 2 years or 3, I don't know. And so I have old pictures, and those two pictures are from Geneva. I don't know when, because I didn't set the time on that camera. And I pushed the sensor. It's starting to be an old sensor, but I like digital grain for those who follow my work. And I thought this was a good way to test also here. The next two pictures are the same pictures, but gone through AI filters. That's the one in Lightroom to try to diminish the noise. It's the AI noise reduction, which usually works pretty well. But I think here it does work, but it modifies the colors in a way I don't like. And I think it's a good example that the settings were at 20% for those who are interested, but I think I prefer the original ones with the grain. So again, don't be scared of grain. Sometimes it gives something more interesting. I think the low lights here are going towards the blue, and AI is not always a way to get out of noise, or won't always make your pictures better. Go sometimes with the real thing. Maybe it's going to progress in the future, but I don't think so. Think about the character of your images. And here again, same camera. I'm going to finish with this one. Really nice lens, really good sensor when you have good luminosity. I've been doing a series with this one. It's nice when you have those really tiny cameras. It's really tiny. And nobody thinks it's a camera. It's got a small slider protection on the lens that turns it on or off. And yeah, you can take pictures a little bit everywhere, and that's why I kind of forgot to transfer the images on a hard drive on a computer. And here, the one on the left I kind of like, because you see my reflection in this building in Geneva that's being worked on, and that's on the right, that's in Reykjavik. I have a series coming up. I kind of stored those photos, and maybe one day I'll do something with it. Or here, that's a good example of what that sensor and lens can do. That's the Bay of Reykjavik with the Esja mountains on the right. Honestly, I don't know how long ago that was, but it was a nice day. I kind of liked the sun far away on those volcanoes, and this kind of fresh snow on the Mount Esja, which is the mountain on the right. Or even in low light situations, this camera is pretty cool. That's on the right, that's at the airport road, the Keflavík Airport, and that's the bus station in Reykjavik. I thought to render ambiances, for example, like the tourist passway in Iceland in a day of really bad weather with really strong rain, and not really nice conditions. It can work well, and I wouldn't have taken it with another camera. Here also, I thought it was interesting, because when you have those cameras, they tend to, you kind of store images on it, and if it's not your main camera, you kind of forget them. And on the left, I kind of liked the composition. I remember taking this picture, and you had this red doors, those two cars. So it's probably more than 2 years ago, because this place has changed name in the meantime. Now it's a place named Radar in Reykjavik. It used to be named Hura, and it's a place where people go dance, so it's more hardcore now, but it used to be more funky, electro, kind of more house. But yeah, it's a nice picture to me. I kind of like it. And you have the Gaukurinn on the right, on the corner of the building, but we don't see it really well here. And on the right, that's Harpam opera in Reykjavik. I thought the composition was interesting. Nothing really exceptional, but again, with those really tiny cameras that you can store images, you take pictures here and there, and if you organize your archives sufficiently well, in the future you can kind of put everything together and maybe do a work. On the left, that's graffitis in Geneva, in the Plein Palais neighborhood. On the right, that's in Reykjavik. I might do something about graffitis one day. Or here on the left, that's Le Petit Palais. It's a small Geneva bistro in Geneva, Switzerland, on the Rue du Stand. By night, late at night, obviously. I remember it was late at night or really early in the morning. And on the right, that's actually also very early in the morning in Reykjavik, just next to the Hallgrímskirkja, the big church in the middle of Reykjavik. Nobody had walked on the snow yet. That was me coming from the airport, the last bus from the airport, probably at 1 or 2 a.m. I don't know, I kind of liked the ambiance. I forgot I had taken this picture, but it reminded itself to me when I saw the picture. Or here, when it snows and melts and you have this sort of watery snow, it kind of becomes ice sometimes when they don't salt it in time, and that was really an iced surface. The pictures are not very interesting per se, but if I might do a series once, I don't know why, on textures, ice, and whatever, want to tell a story, I'll have those. And yeah, so hopefully that was still entertaining. I would recommend those old cameras sometimes. You don't need more. Sometimes more is less. So I really like to use those. You might too. They're really cheap secondhand right now. That might change in the future, but Anyways, hopefully that was entertaining. If you have questions, suggestions, comments, don't hesitate as usual. And catch you next time.